Ah yes, pinball. What is it that fascinates us about pinball? This game where the ball just rolls around and clinks and bumps, makes lots of funny little noises, sometimes drops us off the screen and makes us rage and frustration, full of bonus games and all kinds of sound effects. It's just one of those genre of game that's quite unique and quite different than the usual game. One of the things that's amazing about pinball is it doesn't matter if it's in Chinese or Korean or Hebrew or Japanese, like whatever language you speak, you can play pinball. It's one of those unique games that, it doesn't have a language barrier at all. Pretty much anybody can play pinball. And then of course, pinball comes in all kinds of forms and shapes and colors and themes, and pretty much any game you could ever think of that's mainstream pretty much has its own pinball game to go with it. 'Cause why not? I mean, hey, there's Pokemon pinball, where, yeah, you've got the actual ball already in the game. So why not have Pokemon pinball, since you've already got a funky little ball that you can use? So what is it about pinball games that's so interesting? And are you a pinball fan yourself? Well, if not, then I hope that watching this video will make you a fan of pinball, because pinball games are a lot of fun, and there's a huge variety of different kinds of pinball games that exist out there, and they can be quite satisfying. You've got even zombie pinball. I mean, hey, you've got like, House of the Dead and Typing of the Dead, and The Walking Dead, The Living Dead. So why not have a pinball of the dead? I mean, heck, everybody's just getting on the bandwagon, so why not just have a pinball game for pretty much every genre, every movie, and every game you could ever think of? And honestly, that's almost the way it works. But in this video, I want to look at some pinball games that maybe you've never played before. Some that were released in Japan, and only in Japan, and so you may not have ever heard of them, but they're some of the best pinball games ever released. They're just so amazing, and if you're a pinball fan, these games are a must play. I mean, first in this video, some of these pinball machines I'm showing are not straight up Japanese. They have Japanese and English versions, of course. But the point is that it doesn't matter what language the game actually is in, because you can still play it. So you don't have to be afraid about trying some of the Japanese pinball games that are in this video. I even noticed that there is a Metroid pinball game, which is actually quite good. I mean, hey, you can have Samus, as the ball form, which everybody knows, just rolls into a ball and rolls around. So hey, why not just take that ball and have it in a pinball game? It's brilliant. It's genius. Pure genius. Well, once again, the Metroid pinball game also has an English version. So that's one that's easily available and easily accessible to play. But for this video, I'm going to kind of show my top 5, and they're not really in any particular order, but I'll show the one that I consider best first, the #1 pinball game from Japan.
Ready. Blast.
And then we'll just go down from there. And I tried to include, you know, kind of a variation of different systems, so that depending on your game system or what game system you prefer, you know, you could still have an opportunity to try out some of these pinball games. But before I get to that list, there's always Pachinko to consider too. So here's a question for you. What came first? The pinball or the Pachinko? Now in Japan, Pachinko games are super popular, and even more popular than pinball, but basically it's the same as kind of a pinball game, although much less interactive. And yeah, I don't really know where the excitement comes from. I went to a Pachinko parlor once and it was meh, that's for sure. I mean, if I could find a Pachinko game that had the Tales of Destiny theme on it or something like that, that would be awesome. But there's so many themes and so many different styles of pinball games, as well as Pachinko games, that, you know, who knows what came first. So that's a history question for everybody. Did Pachinko really start it? Or did pinball start it and Pachinko came later? Probably one of these days I'm also going to do a Pachinko video and show many of the Pachinko games that are from Japan, just for some amusement. So look forward to that. But for this video, it's all going to be about pinball, as the title suggests. So without further ado, let's put all our silver balls away quietly and step out of the Pachinko parlor and check out some Japanese games. Now, my #1 pinball game on this list is actually for the SNES, the Super Famicom of Japan, and it's called Battle Pinball. And this is a Japan-only game, and this is a game that you just must play. I mean, this is just like one of the funnest pinball games that I've ever played. It's just really addicting, really cutesy. You know, it's not brutally hard, so it makes it just a lot of fun. So let's check out the Gundam stage first. So this is based on a bunch of famous heroes, you know, like Gundam and Kamen Rider and Ultraman, and, you know, a lot of those sort of classic space or star heroes that, you know, kids love in Japan, but there are very few people in Western cultures that even know who they are. Most people know who Ultraman is, but they don't really watch, you know, videos of Ultraman or anything. They just know that he says "Sha," and that's about it. But this game has 4 separate boards that you can choose from, so it gives it a lot of variety, and it's very forgiving for a pinball game. It's not, you know, super brutal, that, you know, you lose the ball all the time and it's just so difficult to keep it going, which makes it a lot of fun. SD, super deformed, cutesy versions of Gundam robots and that sort of thing. And so if you're a real fan of Gundam, you would appreciate it. The next one, Roa stage, is actually all underwater. So once again, this is another really cool pinball game. And oh, I was totally distracted by the mermaid over there. That's why the ball dropped. Totally. It wasn't my fault. She distracted me. But yeah, just the colorful style that this pinball game is in, and the variety of the levels. There's like ink now in the way. I can't see, where the ball is going, and just having an underwater version as well as the space theme. It's just so cool. Ikuze! Here's the Kamen Rider. Once again, another very cool board. A lot of pinball games, so maybe you just have the one board, but this one has 4, which really gives a lot of variety. I know I've already said that, but I can't emphasize enough. The variety is just what makes this one a lot of fun. And the way the ball physics work in this game is really nice. You can often save the ball, even if it gets behind the bumpers. And when you lose, you don't feel too bad. There's lots of ways to get extra balls, and yeah, it's just a blast to play. I cannot recommend this pinball game enough. It's probably my #1 pinball game, besides Alien Crush. Okay, I saved the best for last. Shawachi! Here we go with the Ultraman pinball board. You see like little Ultraman down there in the corner. But once again, this is themed on Ultraman. So you have a bunch of Ultraman style enemies and various Ultraman related Easter eggs. And even Ultraman himself makes an appearance. But sadly, this is one of those pinball games that Western audiences may never get a chance to play, and that's a real disappointment, because this is just a great, great pinball game. As you can see, I had a blast recording the footage, and yeah, it took me forever to decide the best parts. There he is! I summoned Ultraman! Ultra Beam! Destroy you! Yeah, so satisfying. And then Ultraman flies away. You got the TV screen down there, sort of advertising. Oh, the city's under attack! Ultraman, what are we gonna do? So yeah, Battle Pinball. It's one of my #1 pinball games. Japan only release. If you've never played it, by Banpresto, I highly, highly recommend you try it out. Don't need to know Japanese at all. Now, our next game on the list, no, is not Devil's Crush. You see, Naxet Pinball. Naxet is one of those companies that, I don't know, kind of falls under the radar sort of things, like Naxet, what's that? But Naxet makes some of the greatest games ever, especially their pinball games. And yeah, I just have to show a little bit here of Devil's Crush, which is an amazing pinball game for the PC Engine. It was a Hue card. That and Alien Crush were some of the biggest and most popular pinball games. But Devil's Crush is one that has a release and can be freely found probably online and played. And it's really good. I highly recommend it. But the point here is Naxet made another game. A completely different game that was released in Japan. And you may not have heard of it at all. And so instead of this game, my #2 pick is going to be the second game that Naxet released. The second pinball game. I guess they felt pinball was their thing. But instead of Devil's Crush by Naxet, we've got something even creepier. Now you can see Naxet written down there, 1992. This is a Jaki Hakai. And this is just an awesome pinball game. Now, this one was released in Japan. Not sure why Devil's Crush, got a worldwide release, and Jaki Hakai did not. But this is just an awesome pinball game. Once again, by the same company that did Devil's Crush. You can see the ball there is like changing runes as it rolls. It's got like all kinds of different runes, and instead of the sort of devil theme that you got from Devil's Crush, this is the kind of Oni or a demon kind of theme instead, as Oni is a demon, and a Jaki is kind of Oni or demon, and Hakai means to destroy. So its actual title is Jaki Hakai, or also Jaki Crush, but because they were trying to go with the theme with Alien Crush, Devil's Crush, and then basically Oni Crush, Jaki Crush. But yeah, in this one you fight demons, and it's got lots of cool sort of bonus sections, bonus games, and a really, really nice board, and it's just as good as Devil's Crush, if not better. And it's really sad that this was a Japan release. You'd think Naxit would just get all of their games going. But if you haven't played this one and you're a fan of Devil's Crush or Alien Crush, I highly recommend this one. It's a really fun game, looks really good. It's got some really neat effects, and just all around an awesome pinball game from Japan. Now this next one, I'm cheating a little bit, but I have to show Time Cruise. Now Time Cruise is a game that was released in the United States and other countries, so it's in English, it's just a regular release. However, we are going to look at the Japan-only version of this game, only released in Japan. And can you guess what the name is? I find it funny, even the introduction is the same for the Japanese version. But the Japanese version is Time Cruise 2. Yep, that's right. It's exactly the same game, completely identical. There's no differences whatsoever. It's just called Time Cruise 2 instead of Time Cruise. Go figure. So apparently the sequel means it's, in Japanese. But of course there's no language barrier at all in this game. In fact, this game is quite amazing because it's one of the few pinball games I've ever seen that has vertical and horizontal gameplay. And the goal is to, hit various things to activate time machines. And those time machines can send you to different sections and segments, different bonus games basically. But you'll notice I'm going left to right and right to left, as well as up to down. And I really don't know any other pinball game that does this. It's just such a unique concept, having the left to right and up to down as well. Usually a pinball game is horizontal or vertical only, but this is horizontal and vertical, and so that just makes it really unique, a really unique experience. You can hit the balls, from left to right, up to down, and it makes it a little chaotic, but it adds a ton of interesting variety. And the bonus games themselves are quite interesting too. Sometimes you get stuck in this ocean level. You've got different time period themed bonus games. And once again, I know I'm cheating by showing this game, because really this is not a Japan-only game, because Time Cruise was straight up, worldwide release pretty much. But Time Cruise 2, the sequel, is the Japan-only version, but yeah, it's identical. There's absolutely no difference whatsoever. Everything else is the same except for the title, which I find quite humorous. But yeah, I highly recommend this game. It has a lot to offer in ways of, a pinball style game. Just really fun, really unique design. And I just see very few pinball games where, your board is basically 6 different areas. Left to right, right to left, up and down. Tons of bonus games that are unique. Yeah, you gotta check it out. The next game on our list, number 4, is Super Pinball for the NES. Wanted to give some variety. And of course, now we're getting kind of back to old school. It's kind of interesting, this game chooses who plays first with mahjong tiles. So if you get like a good mahjong setup there, you get to go first or you get a bonus or something. But this is a 4-player game, which is a little weird. And yeah, you don't play 4 players all at once, you take turns. But it's got kind of a car theme. So I'm not sure why it's called Super Pinball. It was for the NES, the Famicom, so I'm not sure how the word super got on there, because usually SNES games got the word super on them. But yeah, it's not really all that exciting. If you really want to play Japan-only pinball games that you've never played before, then this is one that you've probably never played. But unfortunately, unlike the first 3 on this list, this one's not quite as entertaining. Of course, it's because it's basic. NES, doesn't do it as much as other systems. But hey, if you're into like retro style games, then you might like this one. I find this one to be quite brutal. There's very few ways to save your ball, so you lose it quite quickly. So it's pretty hard to play. But hey, when you finally do lose your ball and you get a game over, at least you get a nice, cute schoolgirl picture on your car. What kind of square car is that? I don't know, but hey, got a cute schoolgirl on it. Hooray. So that's Super Pinball. It's kind of, once again, it's kind of funny it's called Super, even though it's not on the Super Famicom. And of course, the Game Boy had many of its own pinball games. The first one that comes to mind, and probably the most famous, would be Kirby. Kirby Pinball on the Game Boy was actually a really good pinball game. Just have Kirby, rolled up in his little ball form with little eyes, and that was a really good pinball game. But that one was released everywhere, so I can't show that one. For this video, we got to show the Japan pinball games. Now, even though it's Game Boy, you gotta give it some credit. The Game Boy can't do a whole lot. It's just basic Game Boy playstyle, so it's not real exciting, sadly. You can shake the screen, of course, if your ball is about to be lost. One thing I do find really unique about this one is you get the 4 bumpers at the very base of the pinball board, and I thought that was really odd. Like if you click it at just the wrong time, the ball can actually be lost between the spaces there. And then you get a cute bunny girl something when you lose. So hey, there's always motivation if you lose. This game also has some interesting little bonus rounds that you can do, and once again, it's pretty simple, not all that exciting, like the Ultraman Pinball or Devil's Crush or something like that. But the bonus games are kind of fun, and once again, if you're on a handheld, at least you get a cute Japanese bunny girl at the end when you lose. So yeah, that's worth it, right? I highly recommend you play these pinball games that I've showed in this video. If you're a pinball fan, you know, definitely try these out because you're really missing out on some of the amazing Japan-only pinball games. They're really a lot of fun, really well done. Check them out. Or I suppose you could just play Pachinko. I'm sure that nobody will judge you for that. Probably. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you in the next video.